My name's Annie Piggott, and this is our little Burrows Schoolhouse, which we don't get to use as much as we'd like, but it's really a very special little school. And we finally got a nice new flag on it with a light on it, so we can keep it up all year round. So would you please join me in saluting our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's a beauty.
So it's perfect. Look at it.
And if you haven't been in the building yet, we have a loop running on the laptop. And it's a story about this schoolhouse and one of the teachers who taught here for many, many years, Adele White. Yeah. And we have some refreshments for you. And you might want to sit in one of those desks and
See what it feels like.
feel, what does it feel like exactly?
And Annie, maybe later then come out and just sort of dedicate the tree.
Sure, absolutely.
And if we want a little more history. Roger,
He's full of history.
let's get Roger right now, Adam. Tell
he
him a
is.
little story about
Well, my grandfather, Edward Smith, who lived up around the corner of the big white house with the pillars, he took care of this, the schoolhouse from the, I don't know, the 1920s, I'm not sure, or teens, up until the late 60s when the Hebron Historical Society took over the responsibility and ownership of the schoolhouse. So, and when I was a little boy, you know, he took me down here, and when the house, you know, of course, you know, the schoolhouse was over there, right next to the road. So that once in a while, a pane of glass would get broken. And he would always make it a point to replace a broken pane of glass. Because once you had a bunch of broken windows in an unoccupied building, then people think nobody cares.
Right.
I think I'll break a few myself, or some kid might say, not me. But so anyway, he would take out the sash and bring it back to the farm, replace the glass, and then bring it back and put it back in. And that's really how it got to the 1960s. And then the next story is probably Craig Sears knows the most of how it got moved. And that's a story as well.
you're on.
Just turn around.
Well, I guess one thing that bothered me was the fact that it was 4 feet from the road, and I said, it's not going to last. Snow plow is going to hit it, or they're always breaking a window, or a car, maybe an intoxicated person, would be the end of the school. So I proposed to the town, at the time it wasn't working, that I would move the school if we could get the land and the foundation for it. So, long story short, Clifford Wright donated the land. We had the town fill it in, and we had a foundation poured, and I put the beams underneath the building and shored up the building, made it strong enough so that it could be lifted with a crane. There's a picture inside you can see, and the building was lifted with a crane and set on a foundation where it's on now. The granite is not original to the school. Basically, it sat where those bushes are, on stones for 200 years or more. The town wanted a seismic test because it's unfilled soil, grief and aggravation, but we finally accomplished it. We got the school and fixed it up. It stands. I can't believe how many years it's been that it got moved, but I don't think it'll be here today if it wasn't. And that's about it. And the Historical Society has to maintain it. And we're going to need a roof pretty soon. I was telling some of the members that it's been like 25 years and it's time for another roof. So that's money. That's about it.
And we thank Edward Smith and for teaching his relatives, and we thank Craig for arranging all of this, getting it moved. And we thank everyone who's a part of the Historical Society and cares. And there is a little handmade collection box just about straight ahead that Edward Smith made so that when people came in here, if they liked, they could drop in a little bit of money.
So that collection box I found in my mother's possessions when she passed away, and I got it and brought it to a meeting, to the society, and now it's hung right there. In
And
fact,
your mother brought it the day the building was moved, because you can see pictures of Marie
Yeah.
holding on to it. I don't know how much money she collected that day, but she added plenty of her own. I know that. Do we have any questions to ask of these people? And then, of course, we have Kenzie's video. Now, these are Kenzie's parents right here, but her name just happens to be Smith, and she just happens to live on
Smith Farm Road?
Smith Farm Road, but they're not related. But she's in school, she's in Philly.
now what about the outhouse? That's another story. That was added a few years ago by Ben Stava and his son-in-law, John Hubbard. And they got it down in Westchester, I believe. And they trucked it up here on a trailer and set it up. But it did not have very good shingles on it, and they rotted out a few years ago, and the Boy Scouts rebuilt that, the roof and the rotten boards, and now that's in good condition. It'll last another 20, 30 years.
Well, and then Zach Bloom reglazed all the windows and did the paint and replaced some of the bad boards here about, what was it, about 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. So it's being taken care of. It looks pretty nice. You'll see inside it needs a little interior work, but it's not bad.
That's right.
What else? Okay, everyone now has to say something. Oh, okay.
Do you have a Boy Scout group in the area or the broad area? Perhaps a historic merit badge could be considered for the Scouts. Also, in Manchester, I saved the one-room schoolhouse by contacting the volunteer firemen, and they did a lot of work in restoring the schoolhouse. So those groups plus more perhaps could have interest in the future to help out.
We're very lucky here in town. We have an extremely active troop, and I don't know how many Eagle Scout Awards, but we probably have a good half a dozen,
That's
maybe
right.
as many as that involved already here.
No, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's why it looks the way it does.
Yeah, that was the Eagle Scout restoring the outhouse. That was one. And then one of the other boys worked on it a couple years ago, right?
And
then
Siak, did you?
Siak boy, he did it for Eagle. So the Boy Scouts have been helped keep this together for the last 30 or 40 years.
same contact with them.
We use the old folks to do the hard work, but then we use the scouts.
Minor stuff.
They did a lot of work.
The granite that you see is not the original.
Oh, where did it come from?
Well, somebody asked me that a while ago, and I goes, just local people, I guess, donated it and found pieces in their yard.
Now, those were used principally between the years of 1780 and 1820 for homes.
Or rendering stones too
Well, they
sometimes.
converted it.
Yeah, we,
Oh, you mean for like hitching posts and fences?
Well, for the foundation of homes, those years.
but
Especially for colonial.
when it sat over there, it was just on rubble. Just,
Well, fieldstone.
yeah.
Are the steps original?
No.
Same thing, I guess we absconded those from different places, people donated them. I wish the top step would get raised
Yeah, it
instead of
really
adding
needs to
that.
be a little higher. That's
Yeah.
it's a steep one.
It's too high. Needs to be higher.
So if anyone sees a stone that's about,
No, we could just raise the step.
well, you could just, yeah, chink under it, yeah.
Then the first step would be right. You brought this one up, and this one would be about the right height.
There was no code back then.
I get it. Yes.
I don't think so.
Uneven steps.
Annie, you've invited everyone in to,
Well, you know, are you waiting for the bell?
Yeah.
Want to be late?
oh, go get it.
So we still have
Yeah, there's a bell in there. Please come in, take a look around. Have some cider and donut holes. There you go. Good man.
whole road was on a party line, you know, so.
Oh, yeah, I
And
remember that.
remember that, your,
We had
your,
4 families.
yeah, that's right,
to,
4 or 5 on
I
it.
remember that.
And yours
Everyone
was
listened.
one, yeah.
You know, even an area here, comments would be appreciated.
We get the Boy Scouts, and we use, it's used as an Eagle Scout project.
Excellent.
And
Is there a merit badge that has history on a historical merit?
I don't know about that. You'd have to have the Boy Scouts, but they do it for Eagle Scout assignment. They have to do something for the community, a big
Okay.
project,
Yes,
to
yes.
get an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, well, I was a scout. I didn't make it to the top, but that's a wonderful organization. So this town has the Boy Scouts, or is it in the district?
Yeah, I think it's a Hebrew, but I don't know much about it. But I know that they, they have to apply the project for the Eagle Scout. They have to have it, and it's got to be something meaningful, you know. When they did that, out.
Adele was born October 1861.
I said to him.
And I put it together.
That's fine.
I guess
You know, put
Maybe you
some
can
stuff.
put flowers in there, clearing brush, yeah, and, the one up on 85 on the hill.
Yep.
The only one I ever helped with is the one behind St. Peter's, because a couple. It's, by the educational channel.
Yeah, yeah.
And, on Saturdays, they have lots of. Do you have your homework? Yes.
So many people to man all these places.
Where does this old road go?
Nowhere.
Nowhere?
Oh, yes, it does.
Well, it's
Wow.
on Hope Valley, and there is, from what I understand, last time I went to vote in the spring, I was told that there is a house, that they don't want to do it.
Oh, leave it as it is, it's fine, but just imagine, I'm sure children walk to school
Oh, I'm
up that
sure,
road
yeah.
at one point.
Yeah, well, and nobody built on that, because his wife did not want to.
You'll find lots of good stuff there. We have home.
Oh, amazing.
Do you want me to hold that open for you?
Yeah, if you don't mind, thank you. This is nice. Thought I was gonna get in trouble opening it, so. Alright. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Something on the other side too?
The same thing.
Same thing. And then the other side. Interesting. Thank you.
Hello, I am Katerina, and this is the Hebron Schoolhouse. And what I learned today was this schoolhouse was built in the 1700s, and there are tons of pictures that were from a long time ago. Like there was George Washington pictures and Abraham Lincoln. And I also noticed there was a wood stove, and I believe from in the 1700s that they were built in that time. Other people believe that they were only built in the 1800s. And I also noticed from the desks there were a lot of interesting carvings with like letters and all that that could spell out things, but you cannot tell what they are like because they are so old, from the 1700s. This was Katarina signing out.
We're dedicating this new tree because the previous one blew down last year. It was right over there on that spot, and we asked our wonderful neighbors if they could pull it back into shape, but by the time they got over here, the town of Hebron had removed it. So this year, we just recently got this one, and the same wonderful neighbors. I'm looking to see if he's appearing.
He's coming.
He's coming. He's filling the bucket.
Anyway, we asked if they would keep an eye on this one, water it on a regular basis and so on, which they've done. They also keep track of everything. One day, Carla at the town office building had gotten in touch and said, you know that flag you're flying down there? Pretty tattered. So I emailed Danielle, and by the end of the day, I believe it was down. So as of today, we have a new one, and we have the solar light illuminating it, so we're legal. And we're glad all of you could be here today to see this old house. Now this house is thanks to the efforts of quite a few people dating way back. I mean, the house itself we know, I'm saying house rather than schoolhouse, but the house is very old. It's questionable exactly how old, but I think with what we've read, that it's not 1725, but it's closer to 1735, because that's when there were enough school-age kids in the area to have required the ecclesiastical society or whatever to put up a new building. But anyway, so we have this probably 1735. Sometimes I say circa 1750 because you don't want to brag too much. Anyway, after it was no longer used, just sat over there, as Craig told you, sat over there about this far from the road. And Edward Ashley Smith, made sure that he kept it in good repair. He had been a student here. His mother had taught here. One of his sisters had taught here. All of them attended school here. And it was important to him. He just lived up the road. How far up the road? Where's the house? Where's Florence's? How far?
Quarter mile.
Quarter mile. So it wasn't too tough for him. And as Roger said, he'd take care of it. The school was actually closed in 1909 or 11, right about there. And Edward Smith kept it in good repair. I think Florence did what she could also. Florence being Edward's sister. So we thank the Smith family for everything they did, and we want to thank Clifford Wright for giving that additional half acre, something like that, so that the building could be moved and be in a safe location. We also want to thank all the other people that kept it going. Joan Toomey, she did a lot. She wrote the study report before it was designated as a historic property. Henrietta Green, I'm sure, was very much involved in it. The Stabas were very much involved. Ben Staba and son-in-law provided that handy little neighboring shed. Anyway, so we want to dedicate this tree to all of our old friends and all of our new friends who feel the same passion towards Hebron history. This is a macoun. When you come by at the right time, Rabbamacoon, or McCowan, however you pronounce it.
The deer don't get it.
So Lamb is going to put the water on it.
Liam is going to, yes,
You can do that now.
he's going to keep it growing. We want picture proving that Liam Galligan kept it.
That's a ceremonial.
Good job. That's like a baptism.
Thank you, Lee.
Anyway, thanks, Liam.